Next, we want to move to corporate social responsibility. Janelle, if you would go ahead and pull up the slide. Really, what we want to do is be able to inform everyone more around how we're aligning ourselves, with the things that we want to do as a company, and so that because it isn't that we haven't been doing many of these things already. Quite honestly, our different projects, our different sites, our different groups, all tackle some of the things that we want to do to really help out in the communities in which we build, in which we live. Next, Janelle. So that we can go ahead and really understand how we do that. So what we're really trying to do is just really align the activities that we're doing already as a business around our purpose and our values, so that the kind of the social and the environmental activities come into greater focus, and we all kind of row in the same direction. Next. So like I say, we've been doing that for the last 50 years or so. And so what we want to do is really pull together a framework for how do we develop that continuity going forward for the next 50 years. Gives us a chance to set really clear expectations, the kind of things that we're doing across the company, instead of just hearing from, one area or one group what they're doing. Now you get a chance to kind of see what we're doing company-wide. And the more we can kind of line around the things we want to influence, have really good metrics around them, and especially the transparency, let everyone see what's taking place, we'll be able to really increase that impact, across all of the groups and areas and projects that we work. It also gives an opportunity to coordinate that with what Obayashi is doing, because they've had a corporate social responsibility program that's in place, that's set around the environment and social and the governance aspect. Next. And that's how we're continuing to align ourselves as well, where the social aspect is really around people, the environmental, we're naming it around planet, and the governance really is around our performance, how we interact as a company. So we'd like to go ahead and just talk about each of those three. We're going to start with the people side. Maylin, if you could jump in here.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Well, it's not by accident that people is the first element that we're talking about today. The reality is that we are a people company first, and our people are the key driver of our success. And so we know that in order to continue that success, we need to be able to attract new talent, leverage and increase our diversity, and continue to develop a workforce that will support not just who we are today, but where we're going in the future. And so based on a combination of, key elements that we're already looking at related to our culture and our values, as well as employee feedback and best practices, we've developed some key areas where we're focusing our efforts listed here, really health and safety, diversity and inclusion, training and development, healthy workspaces, and donation and volunteerism. And so within these categories, we've set some very specific and measurable goals that really align to the importance of keeping our people safe, ensuring a culture of inclusion and belonging where people feel valued and empowered, programs that help our people to develop and grow and support them to meet their career goals, and focusing on well-being that extends beyond physical safety to the overall physical environment. And we know that our people are very passionate about community and our ability to give back to the community. So we are looking to increase the visibility and drive participation in our 111 program. And so we're just highlighting one of the many specific goals to give you an example of what it looks like. And here wanted to highlight for you what we're doing, one of our goals around diversity and inclusion. Very excited to say that we have made the commitment with Silicon Valley Leadership Group to join their efforts, their 25 by 25 initiative. And what that means is that we are making the commitment to increase the number of underrepresented groups that are within the leadership of Webcor. And, Silicon Valley Leadership Group had left the definition of leader somewhat open to interpretation within these groups. And we've discussed this at executive committee, and we really want to drive this to further than the executive level, down to the director level. And so our goals related to this will not only be high level organizational, but we're also going to be looking at representation within all of our different divisions, departments, and groups to achieve this goal.
Great, thanks, Maylin. So I'm going to jump into the next section, which is planet. And I want to start off by saying, how climate change is really top of mind now, more than ever, I believe, really due to a couple key things associated with regulatory changes and political influence. And people are becoming generally more aware of the threats that we face. And we're finding solutions are being developed to solve these, turning risks into opportunities. And that's what we've showcased here today. But really, we regularly hear about new ways to reduce our impact on the planet as a builder and finding more efficient and less wasteful ways to operate. This isn't something new to Webcor. Really, as an organization, I'd say that we've slowly been adopting more progressive sustainability standards for our operations. And with that, have identified these 4 key impact categories you see here. So the first is climate change and carbon emissions. Next, we have waste management, transportation and travel, and then finally, community impact. I'm going to go into a little bit more on these overarching goals within these categories. And I want to preface this by saying that these have been developed by direct feedback from you all through past surveys or looking into industry trends and impact reports on those items most relevant to our business, clients, and our competitors. Things like Jeet mentioned, we hear this from our clients in asking us to focus on these types of categories. So the first thing here is developing a clear and relatable carbon commitment, something that we started a couple of years ago, and it spans across all our self-perform groups and operations. It speaks to the ways we collaborate with low carbon material suppliers and really identifies a roadmap to quantify our operational emissions. The second goal here is to reevaluate the way we see construction waste and operate really with a mentality of reducing waste across all phases of construction. Third is to reduce our emissions through transportation by testing out things like electric alternatives on the job sites and reducing our commute impacts. And then finally, incorporating and expanding our green team efforts through grassroots and beyond. So I want to dive into one of the specific goals within the waste management section. So this goal here you can see identifies a plan to pilot True Zero Waste. It's a program that we want to execute by the end of next year. Genesis Marina has been selected to be the case study project for this effort, and they'll be working to divert more than 95% of all their waste from landfill. And this really is by no means it's a thoughtful plan where they've been integrating things with their trade partners and on-site efficiencies. And if successful, we'll actually be the first contractor to execute the zero waste framework for a construction project, which is really interesting, really exciting to be at the front of this. But really, I actually see this as more of a big picture goal, even more than that. And our hope is to use the structured program and replicate this and find a handful of new ways to manage waste for all of our future projects, ultimately reducing our waste collectively. So we're excited to move this program forward and share lessons learned over the course of implementation in the next couple of years. I'm going to hand it off now to Matt to go through our performance goals.
Thanks, Janelle. So performance really, it falls within the governance section. And really what this is all about is being able to prove that we're actually executing on what we've said that we want to do. So the key categories, compliance, clean energy, project type diversification, public policy, and external reporting. So this is all about being able to show people what we're doing and measure it. Getting deeper into this a little bit. So these are the longer descriptions of what this particular portion of the framework is all about. And, we have to be in a position to actually be able to prove to many of the companies that we're doing business with these days that we're really making progress. So when we say that we would like to have a robust ethics program, we can't just say that, we have to show them. And many of these highly sophisticated clients that we work with are looking for that scorecard where we can prove to them what's going on. The one segment of this, though, that I like the most, just because it's the most fun, is the project type diversification. And an example of one of our goals on this is that one of our targets is to make sure that we've started a zero net energy building by 2024. This one I think is going to be easy to achieve just because we're seeing more and more owners go in this direction. Certainly the state of California on their projects is really driving towards zero net energy. We've pursued some of these projects in the past, and we've gotten much, much better with our design build partners on figuring out ways to make the smartest and most efficient zero net energy project. And I see success on that here pretty soon. This is really just the culmination of all of the work we've done over the years, building platinum LEED projects, cramming every single sustainable feature we can into buildings, and frankly, all the way through all of our work related to embodied carbon. So that is really what the entire People, Planet, Performance program looks like. We recently added a profitable growth initiative as part of our strategic plan. And this is one of the tools that we will use in analyzing those opportunities, because we need to make sure that the work that we do really is having the kinds of impact we want as part of this program, both internally and externally. Internally, it's you guys, it's the employees, what's the experience. Externally, it's what are our clients looking for, and what's the impact on the communities that we live in. So there are 35 targets in total, 14 categories. We're going to use these to help guide our decision making. It's interesting to note, Matt Reese talked about how well we are weathering this recession. And I think there's an even bigger thing that we have done, which is we're not taking bad jobs. We're seeing quite distinctly from some of our competitors that they're taking projects at prices that we know are not going to be avenues of growth for them. They're going to end up feeling the impacts of these projects for a very long time. And we have done none of that. Every project we've taken over the last year has been very targeted in terms of how it fits into an overall strategy. And one of those things is One Webcor. 300 Kansas, as has been mentioned, it's really hard to point to other projects where you can walk into a meeting and an hour later have convinced that owner they need to change to you. That's a testament to the skill that our craft divisions bring to that conversation. In the case of CSR, it's expanding even beyond craft. It's expanding into the work that we're doing in lean, the work that we're doing in sustainability, and bringing all of those things together to provide messages to the owners about our worldview and really be able to resonate that message with them. So in order to get you guys more up to speed, for those who are interested, we're going to have a series of lunch and learns coming up. Janelle will give us some more input on that, where we can kind of dive into each one of the topics individually and give you the context of how those work. And then the last thing we really wanted to point out is that this is dynamic. Obayashi has been working on their ESG goals and framework for any number of years, and it continues to evolve. Ours will as well. As we knock off a goal, when we land a zero net energy building and start construction on it, we're going to have to take that one off the list and add a new one. And we're going to be very deliberate about updating those key performance indicators all the way along the line and keeping everybody up to speed on where we are in terms of progress on our goals. So Janelle, you want to talk a little bit about the resources we'll have available?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So there are a handful of resources that the communications team, especially shout out to Shell, have helped us develop. That will be up on Connect very shortly, the Connect article. We taped a very interesting podcast episode, the handful of us that have presented today. We left out the dad jokes, so I apologize for that, but it's still very entertaining and informative as to what the CSR strategy entails and really what the focus areas are. Gives you a little bit more in-depth information into the goals and the specifics. We revamped the corporate social responsibility website, so that is up on our webcor.com/CSR. And we've also rolled out, which will go live today, Microsoft Teams platform. So over the course of the next handful of months and years, we will, the three of us owners, Maylin, myself, and Matt, will be broadcasting and sharing feedback, sharing performance updates as to how we've been meeting these goals over our related to our KPIs. And then also just sharing interesting articles and interesting thought pieces that you guys may be interested in taking a look at. And then finally, as Matt mentioned, the lunch and learn. So you can see here the first, we wanted to dive in head first these next 3 months and just focus in on an hour session for people, planet, and performance on these dates, May 12th, June 10th, and July 8th. And again, it will be a lot deeper dive as to what these exact goals are within those 14 categories that were mentioned. And you'll be able to participate and ask a bunch of questions and see where we are and see, again, a high level of, or a deeper dive, as to how this relates to you and what potentially you also may be able to help participate and get involved in. So thank you guys.